What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Sneaker History YouTube channel. My name is Nick Engvall, and I've been around the block a time or two with this whole sneaker thing. I've worked in this business for 15 years or so now at this point. I've gotten to do a lot of cool shit, and one of the things that I think is the coolest, top 3, top 2, maybe even the absolute coolest experience I've ever had in the sneaker world is this pair of shoes that I want to talk about today. Before I get into it, I want to talk about Chris Paul. If you don't know, Chris Paul is a Jordan athlete. Most of you should know that if you're watching this channel, but he's a Jordan athlete, so he has access to unbelievable player exclusives, colorways that nobody else on the planet can get their hands on for the most part. And this pair of shoes is actually quite possibly one of the rarest Chris Paul Air Jordans ever. Chris Paul is an incredible athlete, on his way to potentially winning his first title as I make this video with the Phoenix Suns, but one of the craziest stories about Chris Paul's career, you have to go back to his high school days. Actually, 2 of the stories. So the first one doesn't have anything to do with these shoes, but I figure it's relevant because some of the details on Chris Paul's shoes tie back to this. Chris Paul played high school basketball in North Carolina outside of Wilmington at a high school called West Forsyth. He played 2 years on the junior varsity team before actually making it to the varsity team. You know, you could probably argue that that's a good thing considering he probably got a hell of a lot more playing time on the JV team, got to actually become the leader in the role and all of those things. But that aside, it's still a challenge to not make the varsity team as a high schooler, right? One of the most significant moments in Chris Paul's early career, and I think one of the moments that actually put him on the map, at least nationwide here in the United States, was during his senior year. Chris Paul's grandfather was murdered the day after he signed his letter of intent to attend Wake Forest. I can only imagine the pain and the mental struggle of that contrasting with probably the most exciting moment of your life, landing a full ride scholarship to play basketball. As most leaders in this world do, they take that tragedy and turn it into something amazing. Chris Paul turned that tragedy into one of the most memorable performances of his budding career by scoring 61 points, one for each year of his grandfather's life. That 61 points would become an ongoing tribute throughout his signature Jordan line, including this pair here. The story behind it is even more incredible. Paul basically didn't tell anyone he was going to do this, went out and did it. You know, natural flow of the game, scored 61 points, was fouled on his last shot, and actually airballed the shot and walked off the court so he wouldn't, even though he was only 6 points away from a state record. But walked off the court, fell into his dad's arms and cried, and let out all the emotion. That just speaks volumes to how much his grandfather meant to him. And actually, he's even making a memoir called 61, Life Lessons from Papa on and off the court, that should come out later this year. But back to the story of these crazy rare Air Jordans. The Air Jordan 13 was always CP3's favorite model growing up, but unfortunately, when he was younger, his pair was stolen from his locker at school. Knowing this, Nice Kicks founder Matt Halfhill secured a pair of Flint Gray 13s for Chris Paul. And when Matt eventually gave the pair to CP3, Paul was so touched by the gesture that he created these black and infrared pairs for the entire Nice Kicks team. There were only a handful of people, literally 5 people on the Nice Kicks team at that time, and I was lucky enough to be one of them. So I got a pair of these incredibly rare shoes that were gifted by Chris Paul to the Nice Kicks team. I would say that there's less than 10 of these made. I know for the 5 that were made for the team, or give or take 5, 6, maybe 7, if you include the kids pairs. Yes, there are kids pairs that exist. Matt has them. Follow him on Instagram. There's also a few pairs that are floating around the Nike campus that have been spotted throughout the years. So I know there's probably around 10 pairs in total of this, but it's still one of the most incredible pairs ever. Let me make some room here and I'll show you. Obviously, this is an incredible pair, black and infrared, my favorite color combination of all time, with maybe the exception of throwing in some gray in there if you're talking about the Air Max 90. But because the details on this shoe are a little bit harder to see, we pulled out another pair of CP32s that I have just to kind of show off what the details are on the shoe. The CP32 is one of my favorite shoes of all time, especially when it comes to signature Jordan models that are not the Jordan signature model. Now, you can see on the heel here, there's 61 is a tribute to his grandfather, Nathaniel Jones. As I said, that 61 becomes an important part of Chris Paul's legacy when it comes to his sneakers because the details on most of his shoes have some sort of tribute to his late grandfather. So I actually did a performance review back in the day for Nice Kicks. I don't know if they still have my name on it, but I will link to it in the description. A lot of the places that I've written for, unfortunately, have taken my name off of some of the stuff that I've written. But It's all good. We're still out here doing our thing. So this is a CP32. You can see this is the Mardi Gras colorway, but the one that I wanted to talk specifically about is the Nice Kicks CP32. The craziest part about this shoe is that back then, Matt was actually going through logo changes with the Nice Kicks logo. The original Nice Kicks logo changed a few times back in the early days of the blog. And even, since they split off and have the stores that are owned by Shoe Palace, it's obviously a little bit different between the two brands. So this was kind of one of the in-between logos, which is even more sign of the times. This production on these was spring of 09, promo sample. You can see the Nice Kicks on the tongue. Also got the Nice Kicks on the inside. I've worn these a couple of times. I put them up for sale. I figured that someone like PJ Tucker should wear them, or maybe Langston Galloway. The guys that wear some of the crazy heat in the NBA. One, I want to shout out Matt for grabbing a pair of shoes for Chris Paul. Two, for Chris Paul and the Jordan team that made these happen for the Nice Kicks team back in 2009, because a lot of people have never seen this. It's something that I cherish, but I also think it would be cool for other people to know about it. So I'm sharing about it now. And who knows, maybe you'll see it on the feet of somebody in the NBA soon. And that's that. The Nice Kicks Jordan CP32, black and infrared colorway, less than 10 pairs made. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed learning about these shoes. To me, they're incredibly important, a really cool story, a showcase of how good of a dude Chris Paul is. And yeah, if you want to support the channel, you can cop some Sneaker History merch down in the links below. You can join the community by hitting that Discord link / Patreon link below, and catch our podcast a couple times a week. Otherwise, we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.